Greetings, loving pranams to all of you. I am so happy to be with you all once again to resume our study of the Bhagavad Gita as interpreted by Paramhams Yoganandaji in his book God Talks with Arjuna. In the first discourse we could cover only the first sloka of the first chapter. Before we go to the second sloka, I would like to briefly review what we discussed last time in order to pick up the thread of continuity. To understand Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand the context of the Gita. Pandavas lost their kingdom in the game of dice. Consequently, they had to go into exile, 12 years of Aranyavas in forest, followed by 1 year of Ajnatavas. 1 year they had to spend in disguise. And they did that. 13 years they spent, and they came back and demanded their kingdom which belonged to them morally and legally. But Kauravas denied them. Having no other option, Pandavas declared a war to reclaim their own rightful kingdom. On the eve of the war, Kurukshetra, Arjuna goes despondent after seeing the people he had to fight. His own people he had to fight. At that time, Bhagavan Krishna gives this advice, Gita. There is an analogy here with my own life and with your own life. Because Aham Brahmasmi, I am divine. I am a spark of divinity. As you are, he and she, everyone. We are all different expressions of the same divinity. But the divine kingdom within me, I lost in the game of delusion. As Pandavas lost in the game of dice, I lost my divine kingdom in the game of delusion. Having lost my divinity, I am living in exile as a mere mortal, moving around, forgetting about my divine heritage. For Pandavas, it was only 13 years of exile. But for me, not just 13 years, not just 13 incarnations, many incarnations, I am in exile. Living like a mere mortal. After having many hard knocks, life after life, I realize that my kingdom is not this. This world is full of challenges. Samsara dukkha sagara. So that blissful kingdom is within. I want that which I lost. Pandavas, mere asking for the kingdom did not work because Kaurava sitting here denied. Similarly, my mere asking my own divinity is not adequate because there are Kauravas sitting in me who are denying me my kingdom. Who are these Kauravas? Ahankar, ego, desires, pride, jealousy, habits, greed, attachments. These are all various characteristics I have, negative characteristics. As long as they are there, I cannot get back my kingdom. I mean, they are Kauravas. In the book, God talks with Arjuna, Guruji explains, Duryodhana represents the king material desire in me. Dushasan, his brother, represents anger. Karna represents attachment and greed. Bhishma represents ego. Dronacharya, habit. Shalya, pride. These are all Kauravas sitting in me. I have a bit of all these things, negative qualities. But I also have some Pandavas. Self-control, Arjun. I have some degree of self-control. Arjun is in me. Pranayam, Bhima. Yam Niyam, I follow. Nakul, Sahadev, they are here. Like that, I have some Pandavas too. So it's a war between my good tendencies and evil tendencies. As Arjuna was upset when he saw the people he had to fight, he said that it is not worth fighting my own people. Not worth, I don't need this material kingdom, I don't want to fight. Then Bhagavan Krishna advises that those whom you think that your well-wishers, they are not truly your well-wishers. They are denying you your rightful kingdom. Similarly, for me to get back my divinity, I have to get rid of all these negative tendencies. But when I see the tendencies I have to relinquish, I get alarmed. Because I enjoy being lazy. I take pride in my position, in my possessions. Do I have to leave all these things? I cannot enjoy anymore my sleep, laziness, this, that. No, it's not worth. Gurudev Paramahansa Yoganandaji explains clearly that these negative tendencies are not going to give you permanent happiness. Your pride is not going to give you permanent happiness. Ego, desires, all these things, one day you have to relinquish them. The process of relinquish involves a battle, a struggle, Kurukshetra. That is what we are going to discuss. With this, now I am not so much interested in that Kurukshetra war which took place some 3000 years ago somewhere out there in Haryana. I am more concerned and interested about the Kurukshetra war that is taking place within me. Right here, right now, it's taking place within me. Because I want divine kingdom. I want my rightful heritage. But for that, I have to fight this Kurukshetra war. I mean, that is the context we have to understand. Clearly outlining the Gita's balanced path of meditation and right activity, Paramahansa Yoganandaji shows how we can create for ourselves a life of spiritual integrity, serenity, simplicity and joy. Through our awakened intuition, we come to know the right course to take at every crossroad on the path of life. That is very important for me. The guidance of Gita is not only for self-realization, it is also to take the right course of action at every crossroad in my life. It gives guidance for day-to-day life, day-to-day living. Paramahansa Yoganandaji gives a grand assurance. Beautiful. He wrote, as God talked with Arjuna, so will he talk with you. We know that Bhagavan Krishna talked to Arjuna. God in the form of Krishna talk to Arjuna. As God talked with Arjuna, so He will talk with you. As He lifted up the spirit and consciousness of Arjuna, so will He uplift you. As He granted Arjuna supreme spiritual vision, so will He confer enlightenment on you. Why? Because God has no favorites. If God gave enlightenment to Arjuna, He will give to me too. If only I want it. If only I work for it. That is the assurance. Guruji also says, each person has to fight his own battle of Kurukshetra. We are all well aware of it. We are all fighting on a day-to-day basis. Each person has to fight his own battle of Kurukshetra. It's a war. Not only worth winning, but in the divine order of the universe and of the eternal relationship between the soul and God, a war that sooner or later must be won. So it's a war not only worth winning, but by God's design, this is a war that must be won sooner or later. Let it be sooner. It is not a question that I am going to, whether I am going to win this battle. No, it's a question when. The words of Bhagavan Krishna to Arjuna in the Gita are at once a profound scripture on the science of yoga and a textbook for everyday living. That is more important for us now. It's a textbook for everyday living. Why should we understand Gita, study Gita? Here is the reason. Paramahansaji says, the underlying essential truth of all great world scriptures can find commonality in the infinite wisdom of the Gita's mere 700 concise verses. The entire knowledge of the cosmos is packed into the Gita. Wherever one is on the way back to God, the Gita will shed its light on that segment of the journey. Isn't it beautiful? It's for everyone, beginners, veterans, and those who are somewhere in the middle. Wherever one is on the way back to God, the Gita will shed its light on that segment of the journey. Everyone, anytime, can be benefited. One thing we have to understand, because this is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Guruji advises us, whenever Arjuna asks questions of God, it is to be understood that the meditating devotee by silent thoughts is communing with God. It is not that out there something is happening between Arjuna and Krishna. No, it is happening between me and God. That Arjuna in me, Arjuna is there in me, Arjuna devotee. He is communing. Next, the threefold meaning of the Gita: material, astral, and spiritual. See, man has three bodies: physical, astral, and causal bodies. To understand this, incarnate man, that is you and me, is encased in a physical body of inert matter, which is animated by a subtle inner astral body of life energy and sensory powers. And both these physical and astral bodies have evolved from still subtler body, causal, causal body. To demonstrate this, I used a glove last time. Suppose if I put on a glove to my hand and move, and glove is moving, that's all what you see. Glove is moving, but glove cannot move on its own. Glove is moving because my fingers are moving. My fingers are moving because of the instructions they received from my thought. The glove is inert matter, on its own it cannot move. That is physical body. Physical body, inert matter can't move. That is operated by astral body, equivalent to the fingers. Astral body of life energy and sensory powers. And even fingers are moving because of the instructions received from the thought. That is causal body. Causal body operating fingers, fingers in turn operating glove. So physical, astral and causal body. We have three bodies. In this overview, Bhagavad Gita gives instructions for all these, at all these levels, so that we are benefited. All round benefit we can get from this invaluable book, God Talks with Arjuna. In this overview, the material interpretation of the Gita pertains to the physical and social duties and well-being of man. Physical duties, social duties and general well-being of man. I mean, these are on the body level, physical. The astral is from the moral and psychological standpoint. Man's character resulting from the astral nature-born sensory and life energy principles that influence the formation of habits, inclinations and desires. So, my physical actions, that is one way, physical interpretation, material interpretation. Then the samskaras, my inclinations, the habits, that is astral level, guidance is given, that psychological guidance is given. And finally, the spiritual interpretation is from the perspective of the divine nature and realization of the soul. So, even at that level, we can get guidance from God Talks with Arjuna. Physical, astral and spiritual. So, that is the introduction to this book, God Talks with Arjuna. Then first sloka. First sloka, Dhritarashtra asks Sanjay, on the holy plain of Kurukshetra, gathered together, eager for the battle, my children, Kauravas and Pandavas, what did they? Oh Sanjaya, that's a question. Put by Dhritarashtra, who was blind, he cannot see. So he asked his charioteer, Sanjay, who was given that vision to see what was happening on the battlefield. Although he is sitting in the palace, but he had that vision. He was granted that vision by Vedavyasa to see and narrate to blind King Dhritarashtra. So he asks, what did Kauravas and Pandavas do on the battlefield? See, the first sloka tells us a fundamental truth, that life is a series of battles between spirit and matter, knowledge and ignorance, soul and body, self-control and temptation. It's all the way, all along, a series of battles between good and bad, temptations and self-control, knowledge and ignorance, series of battles. And each night, a sincere devotee must see in minute detail how did he fare on that day in the battlefield of Kurukshetra within himself. One should see how did my good tendencies behave today and how my evil tendencies behave today. We have to see. No, it may appear to be writing a diary. No, it's much more than that. Normally, a diary mentions what I did that day. But here, a devotee should introspect, why did I do what I did today? What was the motive behind my actions, my behavior? That is also important. Not only my actions, but even the motives are important if you are to progress spiritually. That is the import. Each day, introspection should come into play. Sanjay represents introspection. Introspection has to give the account to blind mind. Mind cannot see. It can only interpret the information that's coming from senses. Next, we have seen, why should I have all these troubles? Trouble. I am divine. I am a spark of divinity. Then why do I go through these struggles? Why even I commit some mistakes? That's a question. No doubt, divinity is within each one of us. But the soul is covered by layers of ignorance. Layers of ignorance. See, I am covered, my soul is covered by 5 layers. The topmost being Annamaya Kosha, meaning matter sheath, matter cover. Below that is Pranamaya Kosha, life sheath. Then Manomaya Kosha, mind. Then Jnanamaya Kosha, discrimination. And then Anandamaya Kosha. These are 5 covers, no, which are hiding my soul. So it takes effort to remove these covers. And that effort means struggle. There is a battle to remove cover after cover, so that when they're all removed, the pure soul merges in God. For this, meditation is the most effective way to remove these covers. Because meditation involves pranayama, meaning prana ema, control of life force. When we are controlling life force, the life sheath comes under our control, that is removed. When it is removed, one understands that when you have control over the force, we understand that this body is nothing but just delusory objectification. That is Annamaya Kosha. Matter sheath also is revealed. And when life force comes under control, then senses are subdued. Normally, life force goes downwards along the spine and outward from the chakras. When they go outward from chakras, they go to senses and they energize them, making them active. When we reverse this, control of the life force means reversing the flow of life force, that is, from the senses, draw them into chakras and take them upwards. Rather than downwards and outwards, it becomes inward and upwards. That when senses are deprived of that life force, they become subdued and the mind doesn't receive information from the senses. The mind comes under our control, not under the control of the senses. So the mind sheath is rolled back. Then comes to surface Jnanamaya Kosha. The man is mainly guided by the discrimination. Jnana is discrimination. And further sadhana removes that sheath and man lives in bliss, Anand, because he is covered by only Anandamaya Kosha, bliss sheath. And further sadhana removes even that Anandamaya Kosha, bliss sheath, so that the soul merges with spirit, God. See, the sheath removal is not automatic. After a few years, this is gone. After a few more years, that is gone. No, It's a struggle, it's effort. That is the Kurukshetra. And here, this is happening, there are three fields. One, the material and moral struggle between good and evil, right and wrong actions, and on the sensory plane of Kurukshetra. Now, if you recall the sloka, it says, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. The Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra refers to the sensory plane of Kurukshetra, where the struggle is between good and bad, right and wrong actions. That is bodily plane. Next is psychological war waged in yoga meditation on the cerebrospinal plane of Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra. Because in this cerebrospinal plane, which is known as Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra, then the inclinations, good inclinations, bad inclinations, samskaras, they fight. That Kurukshetra is taking place. After that is spiritual battle which takes place on the cerebral plane, that's higher. That is Dharmakshetra, where we fight with our lower nature in order to conquer it and get back to God. So these are the three planes: bodily plane, then cerebrospinal plane, and then cerebral. Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, then Dharmakshetra. And by now you must have understood and got convinced that this guidance given by Bhagavad Gita is not only for ultimate self-realization, the goal of life, it is also useful here and now to lead a joyous, purposeful life. That's the beauty of Gita. It's useful for everyone, whatever may be his level of progress in spirituality. It's useful there. So that is a short recall of what we discussed in the first talk. Now we'll go to the second sloka. Before we start the explanation, let us listen to the second sloka sung by Swami Vasudevanandaji.
Sanjay uvacha drishtva tu pandavanikam vyudam duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam abravit drishtva tu pandavanikam vyudam duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam abravit.
The plain meaning of this second sloka goes like this. Sanjaya said, then King Duryodhana, after having seen the armies of the Pandavas in battle array, repaired to his preceptor Drona and spoke as follows. Look at the continuity. Dhritarashtra asked Sanjay what is happening on the battlefield. In response to that question, Sanjaya said, King Duryodhana, after having seen the armies of Pandavas, he approached his guru Dronacharya and spoke as follows. That's all. And many interpretations of Gita do not give much importance to this. It's like a fact, which was, of course, in a way, Duryodhana, having surveyed the armies of the enemies, approached his Acharya, Dronacharya, to explain. But Guruji has gone deep into this metaphysical explanation is given, which is very much applicable to you and to me in daily life. Duryodhana represents desire. Desire in me is Duryodhana. Dronacharya represents habit, samskara, inclinations. Dronacharya, past habit. Ordinary person, knowing nothing of the intoxicating joy that can flow from meditational practices, innocently reconciles to sense pleasures. I mean, how true it is. Many people are not aware what joy meditation can give on a regular basis. They are not aware. In the absence of that knowledge that can come, knowledge of joy that can come from meditation, the person reconciles to whatever sense pleasures he can have. Like whatever joy I can get through my eyes, I am very happy to have. Watching TV, it gives me some happiness. I am just satisfied. Looking at some beautiful scenery, I am happy. These are sense pleasures. Whatever I can get through my tongue, eating, I am happy. Ears, touch like this. So one is reconciled to the pleasures that can come only from senses because he is not aware of the higher joy that can come from meditation. He never attempted. But when man starts meditation and gets that joy, he becomes more and more interested in meditation, then the king material desire in me gets alarmed. Oh, this man is now going towards meditation. That means I may be deprived of my joys, my sense pleasures. The desire which was enjoying the pleasures coming from ears and eyes and tongue. Oh, I may be deprived. It gets alarmed and turns towards past habit. Dronacharya, it turns. Devotee, beware. As soon as the spiritual aspirant tries to meditate and rouse the powers of self-control and discrimination, he will find king material desire tempting him in several ways to distract him from meditation. When he wants to meditate, sincerely, if someone wants to meditate, then immediately he remembers, oh, I have to call my friend, I promised, let me call now. There's an excellent movie going on in the neighboring theater. There's a very interesting TV show, serial is going on. Others are waiting for dinner. Let me get through all these duties. Later I can meditate. Where all those things come to mind. These are the temptings by Maya. We lost our divinity in the game of delusion. That delusion, even now working. When you want to meditate, all these things come to mind. Past habit, past things you have been doing it. And this is not only for spiritual aspirants. This is happening for students too. Only when a student sits for studies, then he remembers about the TV program or about his friends, or what he has to do, this, that, all those things he recollects. The end result is he may not pay attention to his studies. That is the way this world is designed, because subject to delusion. Even the resolute devotee who resists these lures, outward reels, resists and sits in meditation, then comes inner urges of past bad habits like restlessness, sleepiness, mental sloth. Mental sloth meaning laziness. Because meditation is intense activity. I won't even say that meditation is activity. Meditation is intense activity. Lot of effort is required. And when we sit for meditation, again, past habits of restlessness, easygoingness, and that mental lazy, I have to work on prana, I have to work on prana. So that is again there. Inside struggle is there again. The restless man who doesn't cultivate spiritual discrimination and self-control becomes the victim of Duryodhana material desires, temptations, and of Drona samskaras inner urges of past habits of spiritual indifference and sense pleasures. Always, for example, sleep gives me so much joy. It's so easy to sleep than to do meditation. Once I sit, sleep, the thought of sleep comes, the joy it can give, because once I go to TV or once I go to bed for sleep, I get what I want immediately. But if I go to meditation, I may not get what I expect immediately. It's not instant gratification of senses in meditation. It takes time. Whereas here, instant. If I sleep, I get rest. If I go to movie, I kill time. That's all what I want. Instant. But meditation is work. No, pure enjoyments of senses. Experience with the spiritual discrimination and self-control are not enslaving. It doesn't mean that a spiritual aspirant, a true devotee, should not indulge in sense pleasures. No. We can involve in all these things. We can even watch TV. We can take food, but with some self-control. Some discrimination should be there. How much? How long? If there is discrimination and self-control, all these things, pleasures meant for senses, satisfying senses, they're all okay. They're good. But have the discrimination. Thus, we find the second sloka of the Gita forewarning the spiritual aspirant that King Duryodhana, material desire, will try to arouse man's Drona sense habit tendencies to fight against the soul forces of discrimination. No? That's why when you sit for meditation, all these things come into play. But there is hope. There is hope. Because Dronacharya was the guru of not only Kauravas, he was also the guru of Pandavas. Dronacharya trained both Pandavas and Kauravas. Meaning, habit could be a bad habit or it could be a good habit. Habit also could be good habit. Take advantage of that. Dronacharya, by force of circumstances, had to fight for Kauravas. But in his heart of hearts, he wanted victory for Pandavas. Although he wasn't fighting for them, fighting against them, he wanted their victory because that's truth. Similarly, by nature, each one of us, we would like to be good. We would like to side with our soul nature rather than these materialistic pleasures. So inside that is there. If only we realize that and take advantage of that inner urge to be good, we will win the battle. And same Dronacharya will help us. Same habit will help us. So take advantage of that habit, Dronacharya. See, what is habit in meditation? It is regularity. The importance of regularity in meditation cannot be overemphasized. Many devotees do not continue with meditation because of that, because of lack of regularity. Regularity is very important, especially in meditation. Paramahansa Yoganandaji said, the most destructive shaft of Maya delusion is unwillingness to meditate. For by this attitude, one prevents himself from tuning with God and Guru. That is most destructive influence of Maya, unwillingness to meditate. If somehow that unwillingness delusion puts in me, there itself, I'm gone. So we should never fall prey to this unwillingness. Always we should have the discrimination. No, I am not going to give up my meditation. Otherwise, there are so many reasons to give up. Dayamataji said, if you are not regular at meditation, you will be a beginner even after 20 years. Mark her words. And this is valid for so many devotees we are seeing around. If you are not regular at meditation, you will be a beginner even after 20 years. Same question. How do I keep my spine straight? Gaze upwards, thoughts. How do I manage? Same questions when you start, after 5 years, after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, same questions, because we are not regular. If you are not regular, you know how to handle the thoughts, how to subdue the thoughts. That is possible with regularity. Now, I would like to share with you a piece of advice I received from a friend of mine when I just started meditation. That was about 42 years back, 1979. I just started. A friend of mine gave this advice. Never think whether to meditate or not. Just sit down and meditate. You come from work, evening 6 o'clock. At home, relax and ask yourself, should I meditate now? If you think whether to meditate or not, immediately you have a very pleasant advice coming from within. You are too tired, you had a long day today, others are waiting for common dinner, and there is a serial on the TV, and you have to make a telephone call to your friend. Right now, do it. Guruji will understand. You can compensate by a long meditation tomorrow. Tomorrow you can skip. So many advices will come if you think whether to meditate or not. Interestingly, I never think whether to eat or not. I eat. A little late or little early. Little more or little less, I eat. I never think whether to sleep or not. I sleep. But when it comes to meditation, there is an option. Whether to meditate or not. Why should that be? Why should that be? When you get up in the morning, either before bath or after bath, meditate. That no question of thinking whether I should meditate today, this morning. We have to meditate. It should be so much ingrained in us, that habit. That means Dronacharya. Drona is helping us. Dronacharya will help us. The same habit can help us. Now, let me share with you a devotee's experience. I know this devotee very well personally. He had a contract, a pact with Guruji. He would say, Guruji, regularity at meditation is my responsibility, but going deep into meditation is your responsibility. Doesn't it make sense? It does to me. Because how much control we have on our meditations and depth of meditation? We don't have much. Sometimes it's so deep, sometimes it's not that deep. We don't have control. That's why he said, regularity at meditation is my responsibility, but going deep into meditation is your responsibility. But this devotee did not say, I will meditate only if God's grace is there. How can I meditate without Guruji's blessings? No. I am not going to leave it to others. Meditation regularity is mine. Afterwards, the depth is his. And the same devotee, with tears of gratitude, after years he said, I have always received more than what I expected, more than what I needed, more than what I deserved. My only effort was regularity. I was regular, I received so much. Dronacharya. Make use of that habit. Here is an analogy and how the habit helps, the positive habit, good habit helps, especially in spiritual practices. Actually, it helps with other activities also, like studies, games, practice, study, they help. One king had, a battalion of elephants. They would go to war. Elephants also go to war, and among those elephants, there was one elephant which was very efficient at war, and king depended on that war so much, on that elephant so much. It won many a battle for the king, but with time it was becoming old. Then, taking pity on him, in honor of the services it rendered so many years, king retired that elephant. So it was not taken out anymore, it was given rest. One day, that elephant went to a pond. After taking water, before it came back, it got stuck in the mud of that pond. Its feet got stuck in the mud. It tried, it couldn't come out. Seeing all that, the king ordered others to help it to come out. They put a rope around it, tried to pull it. Other elephants also tried to pull it. It couldn't come. More and more he was getting stuck and going into the mud. Tried and tried and tried, it couldn't come out. Then one group of monks was going that way. Then the king approached those monks and asked for their help. Please help us. This is a very precious elephant. I have so much love for it. Please save it. After hearing the entire story, one monk advised, King, you please bring war drums and blow them. Olden days, before they start war, they blow conches and beat the drums. So that's what he was advised to do. Some drums were brought and they were beating. Hearing this war cry, the elephant pulled out of the mud and started running on its own. It couldn't come out, even with the help of others. But once it heard the war drums, it got all that enthusiasm, war cry, and came out of it. Because it was made for that war. That habit was there. Once it heard war drums, it was ready to fight. Same thing with us. We should have that habit. It's like a war cry, need for meditation. In the morning, we have an alarm. Alarm, we may not respond. We just put it off. Unless we have motivation, there is a war, meditation. That's a war cry. I have to go for meditation. When the thought comes meditation, you get up. Alarm or no alarm. If you don't have that urge to go for that war in meditation, then alarm is not going to help you. Whether we switch it off or we snooze it or whatever. We ignore. Another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes. We ignore, go on with our sleep. But it should not be that way. Now this is time for meditation. Alarm is indicating, get up. War cry. That kind of habit should be there. Dronacharya is helping you, Pandavas, because habit of meditation is a good one. good habit, positive habit. Cultivate that. Cultivate that. So when we have that, definitely Dronacharya, although fighting for Kauravas, will help us indirectly. So we'll win this war of Kurukshetra. Now we'll go to third sloka. Before I start the explanation, let's listen to the sloka sung by Swami Vasudevananji.
पश्येतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्यमहतीं च मूं व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता पश्येतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्यमहतीं च मूं व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता.
The plain meaning. Duryodhana said, O teacher, behold this great army of the sons of Pandu, arranged in battle order by thy talented disciple, the son of Drupada. No, second sloka, Duryodhana, having surveyed the armies of Pandava, approached Dronacharya. And in third sloka, he says, Acharya, O teacher, behold this great army of Pandavas, arranged in the battle by son of Drupada, that is Drishtadyumna. That much only. Here there is deep spiritual significance for you and for me. We all know that in Kurukshetra war, Bhishma was the commander-in-general for Kauravas and Drishtadyumna was the commander-in-general for Pandavas. And the material desire in me, when it observed that I am going more towards spiritual practices, when it's getting alarmed that now I cannot have my sense pleasures, Duryodhana, it addresses his habit, Dronacharya. Behold the mighty army of Pandavas, the discriminative forces entrenched in the spiritual centers, all poised for battle under the direction of their disciple Drishtadyumna, the calm inner light of intuitive awakening. See, now we have all these metaphysical references. Dronacharya represents habit. Habit cannot easily be conquered once it is formed. We all know that from our personal experience. Once it gets entrenched, it's so strong, so difficult to remove it. Meaning, a habit cannot be wished away. It cannot be wished away. Metaphysically saying that any habit can be completely removed by calm inner light of intuitive awakening. That has to come. That intuitive awakening should come from within. That can only destroy habit. In Kurukshetra war also, Dronacharya was a very powerful warrior. Very difficult to conquer him. Eventually he was killed by Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna was the son of Drupada. Drupada represents dispassion, meaning vairagya, for material enjoyment resulting from deep spiritual fervor and divine devotion. Drupada represents vairagya, that means dispassion for material enjoyments. So that can only give this intuitive awakening within me, and that it in turn can overcome a bad habit. It's not so easy to conquer a bad habit if it is entrenched for long. There we need inner awakening. How do you get that inner awakening? By deep meditation. That inner awakening, when it comes with a calm inner light. That light is such a way that shows the path. This is how you have to conquer. And that comes with intuitive awakening, in the sense it's not only awakening, it's intuitive. It can foresee. This is what is going to happen in future if you continue with this habit. It can intuitive awakening. It can intuitively feel this is what is going to happen. Now I have to remove it. That kind of strength comes from meditational practices. Now I will go to story of Drupada, Drishtadyumna and Dronacharya. Then we'll appreciate it much better. We all know in Mahabharata that in the beginning, Dronacharya and Drupada were friends. They were friends, they were together. And when they grew up, they went in different directions to pursue their own careers. Drupada was a king, and Dronacharya, of course, was a teacher. He went into his Gurukul. And at some point, Dronacharya needed some material help. He came to Drupada for help. But Drupada did not. Although initially they were friends, after some time he did not help. When he did not help, Dronacharya felt humiliated. But he didn't take it lying low. He took revenge. He trained Pandavas, and as Guru Dakshina asked Pandavas to go and catch and imprison Drupada, and they did. Eventually, Drupada was caught as a prisoner by Dronacharya's disciples. Here, now when we start meditation, initially, my habits also tend to help. Initial enthusiasm, that, and I feel really not interested in other things. Meditation gives so much joy initially. It's fine. Then that the blessings of God and Guru plus initial enthusiasm, I start enjoying it. Automatically, I develop some vairagya, some dispassion and disinterest in normal activities, and go for meditational practices. That means my sincere effort is helped, cooperated by my habits also. Everything helped. But after some time, the habit sees that, oh, if he's continuing in this direction, I am going to be starved. So it rebels. No, you can't go against your own habits after initial enthusiasm. Such inside, you will also find this. After initial enthusiasm, our past habits overtake and kill that interest in meditation, other spiritual practices. So Dronacharya caught Drupada as a prisoner. Our past bad habits come back and catch us, so that we leave our spiritual practices. Now go back to the story in Mahabharata. Drupada did not take it easily. Although he was imprisoned, humiliated by Dronacharya, then he went and did very rigorous tapas, very rigorous spiritual practices, with the sole aim of having a son who would kill Dronacharya with revenge. So he did that tapas. From that fire out comes Drishtadyumna. So by his tapas and all those spiritual practices, he was blessed with a son coming from fire. So then he was happy. Then he has some weapon now, eventually to kill Dronacharya. And he did. Same thing with us. After starting meditation, our old habits, bad habits especially, overpower us, dissuade us, and we may give up also for some time. Remember that eventually we have to develop that inner awakening. Eventually, somehow we have to go on doing some kind of practices, even if it's not full measure. Go on doing it. Then comes that intuitive awakening, which can really conquer our bad habits. I mean, there is exact analogy. That's how Dronacharya was killed eventually, because of the tapas done by Drupada. Similarly, I will definitely conquer all my lower nature, all my negative tendencies by involving with resolute determination in meditation and other spiritual practices. So it will happen. That conviction comes from inside. Yes, I can also do it. It can see the bad results of these habits we have. That inner awakening, it will come. The man who is always restless and who never meditates believes that he is all right. He realizes the true plight as soon as spiritual desire awakens in him, and he tries to meditate and be calm. He then naturally meets fierce resistance from the bad habits of mental fickleness. I mean, how true it is, as long as a man doesn't meditate, he doesn't have problems of concentration. To watch some movie for 3 hours or sit before a TV, surrender to TV, next 2 hours you can be there watching news. No problem of concentration. But you go and sit in meditation, 15 minutes is a big struggle. There you know what is meant by concentration. Surrendering to TV, no problem. But want to meditate? Difficult. I mean, this is because of past tendencies, sense pleasures, instant gratification of our senses. That is why we are finding it difficult to meditate initially. Guruji's advice: it is much more difficult for the occult soldiers in reclaiming the kingdom of peace once it has fallen into the hands of king material desire. One, therefore, must make most of the spiritual inclination while the forces of his willingness to meditate are strong. It is good to start meditation at an early age, or failing that, to start meditation on a regular daily schedule as soon as the mental discriminative inclination develops. So, most of us are at this stage. We have spent enough time, happily spending in normal, normal routine, fulfilling our basic needs, or some intellectual pursuits, but not spiritual pursuits. So once we realize that spiritual pursuits are very important for a human being, then immediately start the spiritual practices like meditation. It's never too late to start, although it is more and more difficult, but never too late. So here Guruji gives a beautiful summary of third sloka, which we don't find any other explanations. Thus it is explained in this verse that when material desire and his army of sense tendencies and their restless thoughts try to reinforce themselves by past material habit in order to dissuade the spiritual aspirant from the practice of meditation, they find that the calm inner light of awakening intuition, well trained in meditation by past spiritual habit, has effectively arrayed these discriminative faculties to give metaphysical resistance. See, by nature, every devotee has that inner urge to progress spiritually by sadhana. Each one of us, inside there is that urge is there. I want to spiritually progress. I want to do sadhana. Like every student in the college or school is interested to study to make a good career. But unfortunately, the habits of procrastination, laziness, tendency for instant material gratification, sense gratifications, they oppose, they dissuade, because we want instant happiness. So lie on the bed, instant happiness. Sit before TV, instant happiness. Take a phone, instant pleasure. These things dissuade us, although inside we are interested to do something noble, something higher. So take advantage, realize, recognize that inner urge and move on, move on. Now, how do we conquer our habits, bad habits? We all have something or other. In some degree, we all have bad habits. Even though we are spiritual people, we have sometimes mental level, even thinking, wrong thinking or idle thinking, that's a bad habit. Idle thinking is a bad habit. So how do we overcome? I have an analogy. A hunter normally catches birds by casting a net. But there is one bird which cannot be caught by a net. Its characteristics are like that. So this hunter uses a very intelligent trick to catch it. What he does is, he puts a rod on two hinges on the branch of a tree. So there is a rod and two hinges sitting on the branch of a tree. This particular bird, when it comes and it lands on the rod, when it lands on the rod, here the arrangement is such that the rod turns on the hinges. When it turns, the bird goes upside down. Feet catching the rod and head to looking at the ground. That's how it is. And it thinks that if it leaves the rod, it will go and hit the ground and die. It's afraid. It catches so fast that it doesn't want to leave the rod, although it has the capacity to leave the rod and fly into safety before it touches the ground. Before it can hit, it can fly. It has that capacity, but it's afraid. It catches so fast, it never leaves the rod, and the hunter comes and catches it. Because it's not leaving the rod. It's like a net. It was caught. Same thing with us. I'm now hooked to a bad habit. I think that I can't survive by leaving it. How is it possible? No, this habit is so much. This could be just procrastination, or this could be just smoking, for example. That's a bad habit, of course. We think that I can't live without this. How? But you can. You have that capacity being divine. You are a spark of divinity. You have that capacity to fly into freedom before you hit the ground. You have that capacity to leave this bad habit which is troubling you again and again. It's possible. How? When will you leave? When that awakening comes. The awakening comes, intuitive awakening. Yes, now I can leave. If I don't leave, this is what is going to happen to me, my life. Let me live. Let me leave this rod. Let me leave this habit and fly into freedom. And that is possible. Let us not hold on to that rod. Let us not hold on to the rod. Let us have that calm inner light of intuitive awakening generated by meditation. Meditation is that is the solution. Then we can definitely kick the habits, definitely, one by one, one by one. Now, let us just review what we have done today. After reviewing what we said in the last talk, we went to second sloka, where Duryodhana, having surveyed the armies of Pandavas and approached his Guru Dronacharya and spoke. That is, when a devotee starts meditating, the material desire in him gets alarmed, saying that now this man is going to spend time in meditation, I will be deprived of my material desires. So tries to dissuade the devotee by bringing into his mind all those past memories of habits, those pleasures he used to get. Do this, do that, meditation can be done later. So beware. Take advantage of this habit by cultivating good habit like regularity in meditation. Then Dronacharya is going to help you rather than helping Kauravas. That's the second sloka. Third sloka is Pandavas are helped by Drishtadyumna as the commander-in-chief. Drishtadyumna was born to kill Dronacharya, the habit. So the bad habits in me are going to be killed. For that we have to cultivate or generate Drishtadyumna, that is calm inner light of intuitive awakening by meditation practices. Then we'll have that power to conquer whatever bad habits we have. This is for today. Next time we'll take up slokas 4, 5 and 6. Just a hint what they are going to be. Pandavas were only 5. Eventually they won the battle of Kurukshetra not by themselves. They needed help of many supporters, many allies. So they have the supporters who help them. And these are like Drishtaketu, Yudhana, Virata, Drupada, Kashiraja, Kuntibhoja. These are great warriors who help Pandavas. Similarly, a few good qualities like Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, self-control, calmness alone may not be adequate to win this battle. I also need the help of some supporting qualities like discriminative intelligence. I need devotion. I need vairagya, dispassion. All these qualities also I need in order to win the ultimate battle of delusion. So that's what we'll discuss. What are the other good spiritual qualities we have to develop in order to win this Kurukshetra within? That will be the topic for the next talk. Okay, a few moments of silence and then we'll leave. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Guru.